Hi, welcome to lesson 4. This is lesson 4 of the B2 level course, and today our topic is healthcare. It's a vocabulary based lesson, and if you remember in lesson 2 we looked at the topic of illness. In this lesson, we're going to consider the wider picture. So we're not only going to think about healthcare connected to illness, but also things such as keeping healthy and alternative forms of treatment. So this is a B2 level course, and by B2 we mean upper intermediate. So at this level, you're looking at becoming more accurate with your English and expanding your vocabulary so that you have more words available to communicate exactly what you mean. So in lesson 4, you will increase your vocabulary to talk about healthcare, discuss some important issues and problems, and we will have a focus on phrasal verbs. So there are some nice phrasal verbs connected to this topic, and we will have a look at some of them together. Are you ready? Okay, let's start with some vocabulary then. So when we think about the topic of healthcare, there are lots of different people who work in this industry. And I don't just mean a doctor and a nurse, because I know that you know these words already. So we're going to try and push our vocabulary and think about other people who work in this industry. Can you think of any before I show you the next slide? So think about in hospitals, for example, in clinics, what kind of people work in this environment? Okay, so I've given you 7 options here. Number 1, ophthalmologist. Number 2, dentist. Number 3, general practitioner. Number 4, midwife. Number 5, nurse. Number 6, specialist. And number 7, surgeon. Now, if you look at the right-hand side, you'll see that I've also given you some options, A through to G. So A being deliver babies, B, care for sick people, C, skilled in a specific field, D, perform operation, E, eye care, F, local doctor, and G, teeth. So what I'm asking you to do is to match. Doesn't read across, that would be too easy. What I want you to do is to try and match the job on the left with what they do on the right. So now is a good time to pause the video and see if you can correctly match the job with the activity. What do they do? Okay, so the answers, number 1, an ophthalmologist is connected to eye care. So this is different to an optician. So if you wear glasses like me, you'll know that you go to see an optician, they test your eyes and they give you advice on the type of lens that you need and the right eye prescription for your needs. An ophthalmologist is different. It's a type of eye doctor. So if you have a medical condition affecting your eye and you go to the hospital, you would see an ophthalmologist. Well done if you got that one right. Number 2 is dentist. I think we know this. This is connected to your teeth. Number 3 is a general practitioner. Now, we often abbreviate this to GP. It's a long word. General practitioner, we say GP, and this is simply your local doctor. So when you feel unwell, you're not quite sure, maybe you have a heavy cold or you're not feeling yourself, you go to the doctor. This is a GP, your local doctor. A midwife works in the maternity ward and helps deliver babies. A nurse cares for sick people. A specialist is skilled in a specific field. So if you go to see your GP and maybe they're not sure or they don't have enough specific expertise in that area, they might recommend that you visit a specialist. And number 7, we have surgeon. Now, a surgeon performs operations. Notice the verb here, perform an operation. We're used to seeing this verb in a different field, thinking about actors, film stars, they perform roles. It's the same verb for a surgeon who performs an operation. How did you do? Did you get all 10 correct? Well done if you did. If you didn't, it doesn't matter. There's lots of opportunity to practice some more. So, in our next slide, I'm going to show you 5 statements, and there is a word missing in each one. The words are from the list we've just looked at. Can you complete the sentences? Number 1, I need to have a filling. I'm going to see a. Number 2, work in the maternity ward of a hospital. Number 3, I have a problem with my eye. I need to see a. Number 4, he has 3 operations to perform today. And number 5, my GP doesn't know, so I'm going to see a. So pause the video and see if you can complete these 5 sentences. The answers. Number 1, I need to have a filling. I'm going to see a dentist. So a filling is exactly what you might think based on the root of the word to fill. Literally, if you have a hole in your tooth, you need a filling. It's the noun. When the dentist fills your tooth, it's a filling. Number 2, midwives work in the maternity ward of a hospital. Number 3, I have a problem with my eye. I need to see an ophthalmologist. Number 4, the surgeon has 3 operations to perform today. And number 5, my specialist doesn't know, my GP doesn't know, so I'm going to see a specialist. How did you do? Well done if you got some of those correct. Okay, so now I have some questions to ask you, things for you to consider. Let's have a look at these discussion questions. Number 1, when was the last time you saw a dentist? Number 2, do you have to register to see your GP, or can you just turn up? Number 3, are nurses well paid in your country? Number 4, have you ever seen an ophthalmologist? Now, questions like this are useful if you're studying for an exam such as IELTS. Healthcare is a topic that comes up, and these are issues that you might need to talk about. So it's always a good idea to have a think, maybe make some notes, and think, what would you say if you were asked these questions? Okay, let's move on then to the second part of the lesson and consider some healthcare issues. What do you think? Is there a big difference between private and public healthcare in your country? Do you believe that everyone has the right to free healthcare? And what are your views on alternative options to modern medicine? So a lot of these issues are very country specific, and it will depend on the part of the world where you reside, where you live, and what happens there. There are big differences, for example, between the UK and America. We might share a language, but in terms of the topic of healthcare, the government's approach is very different between the two countries. So I'm going to tell you, because I'm English, I'm going to tell you what happens in the UK. So in the UK, we have the National Health Service, the NHS. And this is the public health service for the UK, which provides a comprehensive range of health services, the vast majority of which are free for people resident in the UK. Charges are made for prescriptions, dental treatment and optical care, but there is a range of exemptions from these charges. So in the UK, you have a choice. We have the NHS, which is free. There are private healthcare options too, but obviously you pay. And there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages for both sides. And again, this is a very interesting and important area to consider if you're thinking about sitting an exam, because this topic does come up, and it's good to have some answers or to have thought about what you might say. So in that text, I had some words highlighted. Do you know what they mean? Comprehensive. What does comprehensive mean? Comprehensive range of health services. Well, comprehensive means wide ranging. So a wide range, lots of different options. Prescriptions. So prescriptions, you can think of them as the recipe that the doctor gives you. It's the pills or the medicine that you need to take in order to feel better. So you go to the doctor, you describe your symptoms, and he will give you a prescription, which you then take to the chemist, and they will give you the correct medication. And the final one is exemptions. So most people have to pay for a prescription, but there are exemptions. So exemptions you could think of as being similar to exclusions. So for example, if you are over a certain age, you aren't required to pay for your medicine. That would also be free. You are exempt from. Good. So that's thinking along the lines of more mainstream medication. What about alternative? What happens in your country? Have you ever experienced acupuncture, aromatherapy, chiropractic, or reflexology? What are your thoughts? Do you think these are effective? Have you ever tried acupuncture? What do you think about aromatherapy? Is it common for people to see a chiropractor in your country? And do you think reflexology can solve health issues? So again, I think in this area, there are a lot of people who think yes, and a lot of people who think no. And of course, there are advantages and disadvantages for considering alternative medicine or not. But have a think, what's your opinion? There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm simply asking, what do you think? Have you ever tried any of these? Were they effective? And what's typical in your country? Okay, so the next slide, I'm going to show you some anagrams with vocabulary that we've looked at so far. Now, an anagram is a word where the letters have changed position. So what you need to do is to try to unjumble the word to make a word, a vocabulary that we have looked at so far. Can you do it? Let's have a look. So the words look very strange with the letters all in the wrong place, but do you know what the word is, what the word should be? Pause the video now and see if you can find the answer. Okay, so the first one was reflexology, the second one was prescription, and the third one was medicine. Well done if you got those correct. So the reason we do these kind of exercises, we have the gap fill, we have anagram, is because when you meet new vocabulary, you need to meet it a lot of times before it becomes part of your active vocabulary, before it becomes part of your language. So it's important to try to meet the words in different contexts, maybe in a text, maybe in a sentence with the word missing that you have to put in, or maybe like we've just done in the form of a game, an anagram. Okay, the final part of the lesson is thinking about being healthy. So healthcare isn't just about being sick and treatment, it's also about preventative measures beforehand, trying to lead a healthy lifestyle and staying fit and well, which is especially important if you live in, for example, in Europe, in the winter months when it gets very cold, you need to stay fit and well. So what do you do to keep healthy? I'd like you to think about these options: fast food, alcohol, smoking, exercise, and gym. Now, we all know what we should do. Whether we do it is a different matter. Our lives are very busy nowadays, and we've got lots of other things, lots of work commitments, family commitments. So it's not always easy to be healthy. But what I'd like you to do is to think about those topics and see if you can make a sentence telling me what you do to keep healthy in each of these areas. Let's have a look at the slide again. So pause the slide and see if you can write a sentence for me on each of these areas, telling me what do you do to keep healthy. Okay, and these are some options. So number one, we can cut down on fast food. Number two, we can cut out alcohol. Number three, give up smoking. Number four, take up exercise. And number five, work out at the gym. Do you do any of these? So you've probably noticed that these are phrasal verbs, and a phrasal verb is a verb plus a preposition. Very, very, very common in British English. And in order to make your language sound more natural, it's a nice idea to try to use some phrasal verbs. They're also really important for your listening skills, especially if you have contact with native speakers, because we do tend to use phrasal verbs a lot when we're communicating, especially in an informal environment. So let's have a look at these again and just check what they mean. So the first one we had was cut down. Now, cut down on something means reduce. If you cut down on something, you do it less. And this is very different to phrasal verb number two, which is cut out. Cut out means eliminate, stop it completely. So in my example, I said you can cut out alcohol, and this can make you healthier. Number three, give up smoking, quit smoking. Number four, take up. Now, take up is a nice phrasal verb meaning start. So if you take up something, you might take up a new hobby. It means start doing it. And the last one, number five, work out at the gym. In this context, workout means exercise. So if you go to the gym and you use maybe the running machine, you do some weights, you can say, I work out at the gym. Good. Okay. So let's have some practice. In the next two slides, I'm going to show you some collocations. Collocation is a verb and a noun that commonly go together. So again, it's a good way to become more fluent if you learn them in pairs. You learn the verb and the noun. I've given you two options for each one, but only one is correct. Can you tell me which one? Let's have a look together. So, number one, to make a speedy recovery or to do a speedy recovery. Number 2, to call in sick or call out sick. Number 3, to pull a muscle or to move a muscle. Number 4, to make poorly or to feel poorly. Number 5, to be under the weather or to make under the weather. Slide number 2, to catch a cold or to throw a cold. To put up weight or put on weight. To give up smoking or give in smoking. To tend a patient or to treat a patient. And the last one, to prescribe medicine or to distribute medicine. It's quite a long list there, there's 10. Do you know? Now is a good idea. Pause the video, have a think, and write down your answers. What do you think? Which one is it? What's the correct? Maybe think about what sounds more natural to you. Pause the video, have a go, and then I will tell you the answers. Okay, here we go. Number 1, to make a speedy recovery. Number 2, to call in sick. Number 3, to pull a muscle. Number 4, to feel poorly. Number 5, to be under the weather. Number 6, to catch a cold. Number 7, to put on weight. Number 8, to give up smoking. Number 9, to treat a patient. And number 10, to prescribe medicine. How did you do? Excellent work if you got some of those correct. Really well done. Let's just quickly have a look at number 5. This is a nice expression, to be under the weather. Have you heard this expression before? It's what we call an idiomatic expression, to be under the weather. So for example, it means that you're not feeling 100%, and maybe you just want to be a bit vague, a bit general. You don't want to give specifics. Or maybe there are no specifics, you're just not feeling right. If this is true, you can say, today I feel under the weather. You're feeling negative, you're not feeling yourself. So that's a nice expression that you can try to use if you have any opportunity to use English. Okay, so to finish, we have our last practice activity. There are 6 sentences. There are words missing. The words are all things we've looked at in the last 2 slides. So the last 2 slides looking at the collocations. All I need you to do is to see if you can put the right verb in these sentences. Let's have a go. Number 1, I poorly. I'm going to call sick today. Number 2, get better soon. I hope you a speedy recovery. Number 3, wear a warm coat today or you'll a cold. Number 4, ouch, I think I've a muscle in my leg. Number 5, I have more energy since I have given smoking. And number 6, I try to eat healthily so I don't put weight. Let's see, pause the video, write down your answers, and then we will check together. Okay, how did you find that? Easy? Difficult? Let's see how you did. Number 1, I feel poorly. I'm going to call in sick today. Number 2, get better soon. I hope you make a speedy recovery. Number 3, wear a warm coat today or you'll catch a cold. Number 4, ouch, I think I've pulled a muscle in my leg. Number 5, I have more energy since I have given up smoking. And number 6, I try to eat healthily so I don't put on weight. Really well done if you got some of those correct. No problem if you didn't. It's a good opportunity to go back and review the slides and watch the clip again. Okay, so that's the end of lesson 4. Thank you so much for joining, for watching, and for trying the exercises as well. I really hope you enjoyed the lesson and you found it interesting for you. Our next lesson together is going to be lesson 5, and lesson 5 is going to be a review lesson. So in lesson 5, we're going to look back at what we've covered in lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it'll be a mix of grammar and vocabulary, because we will review the question forms that we looked at, and we will review the topics of illness and healthcare. So if you're feeling confident and you've watched lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, try lesson 5. I hope to see you there. Have a good day, everybody. Goodbye.